HRBC show called Let's Talk. So today we have Suffolk's Honorable Pleas, Commonwealth Attorney, Pleas. And today we're going to find out if she has what it takes to get you guys to vote for her again. So welcome. Would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Thank you for having me. My name is Narendra Pleas. I'm the Commonwealth attorney here in the city of Suffolk. I've been in the city of Suffolk since 2013. I've been the elected Commonwealth attorney since 2021. I was elected in 2021, started my term 2022. But prior to that, I had been serving here in the city of Suffolk since 2013 as both an assistant Commonwealth attorney, and I received a promotion to deputy Commonwealth attorney. So moved my way up in the ranks here in the city of Suffolk. And before that, I worked in the Sussex County Commonwealth Attorney's Office and in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office of Emporia, Greensville. So I've been a prosecutor for almost 20 years. I ran initially, and I'm continuing to run to make a difference in my community. And as I've seen prosecution change and evolve, I think I have some ideas about what I like to implement, some things I like to put in place, the way we address some of our cases that make me want to continue to run again. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. So I have a few questions. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Go ahead, launch.
All right, here we go. So now what made you want to run again?
So we started my term, what I will say, a little bit behind the 8 ball. My predecessor had been in office for 40-something years, 46, I think, years. And so there was a lot of change that needed to happen with the transition to a new Commonwealth attorney. And I'll just give you an example. Part of what I've been trying to do is bring us up to speed and up to date as far as technology is concerned. So when I first came into office, like literally my first day in the office, I had no computer. My internet did not work because my predecessor did not have a computer. So a lot of what I had to do at the outset of my term was just start to work to build us up to where I felt other offices already were, especially in terms of technology and being able to do things digitally. That has taken some time, a little bit longer than I would have liked, but some of that is tied to money, which is not always under my control. So I think at this stage, we're getting to where I would have liked to have been, day one, but change takes time. And some of the things that I had in mind planned have not come to fruition yet. So there's more to be done. So that's the long answer to that very short question. There's more to be done.
Okay. So, what is the role of the Commonwealth attorney? Like, what do you do?
That is an excellent question because so many people get us confused with the city attorney's office. We are not the city attorney's office. So people will ask, we get many, many FOIA requests or land records or tax records or inspection records. And those are my easy FOIA answers because I say we don't have those records because we're not the city attorney's office. The Commonwealth attorney is created by the Constitution of Virginia. That's why we're called constitutional officers. The Commonwealth attorney, the sheriff, the commissioner of the revenue, the treasurer, and the clerk of circuit court. We're all created by the Constitution of Virginia, so we're referred to as constitutional officers. For the Commonwealth attorney, primarily, by far and large, we were created to handle felony cases, not misdemeanors, only felonies. So the Commonwealth, the Code of Virginia says that we are to prosecute all indictments, which are felony cases. And if you don't know the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony, a misdemeanor is a criminal case that carries a maximum of 1 year or up to 12 months in jail. A felony is 1 year or more in prison. So that is what the Commonwealth's attorney does. Now, I will say here in the city of Suffolk, and I know in many other jurisdictions across the Commonwealth, other offices, other prosecutors' offices, other Commonwealth attorneys' offices prosecute more than just felonies. For us, for example, we prosecute cases of domestic violence. that involve intimate partners. We prosecute DUIs, whether they are felony or misdemeanor, and the vast majority of our DUIs are misdemeanor DUIs. Um, we prosecute many of our school offenses. Most of those are misdemeanors. So there are certain misdemeanors that we carve out that we accept. Another one could be animal cruelty. We handle many of those misdemeanors. We've launched our environmental justice initiative to tackle environmental crimes. Many of those are misdemeanors. So we, by choice, take on those misdemeanors, which we believe impact our community specifically, and we believe that it is in the best interest of public safety to prosecute those cases.
Okay. All right. So now, what do you hope to accomplish this term?
So as I just mentioned, we launched our environmental justice initiative just this past June. And what that encompasses is it's a project that I am very proud of. And because I've been working in tandem with many other different departments for the past 2.5, almost 3 years, to bring this to fruition. And we are starting to go after environmental offenders here in the city of Suffolk. So those people who are, committing crimes against complete nature, right? They're tearing things down or destroying our land or our air, or dumping illegal dumping hazardous materials, those types of things. So I would like for that program to develop more. Again, we just launched formally in June, so we're just getting started. We've prosecuted 2 cases. We've handled 2 cases so far. We have another 3 that are currently in court, which total 11 warrants. There are several others under investigation. So I would like for that to develop more, because I don't want Suffolk to be seen, because it's so big and we have so many, I would say, unwatched spaces because we're very rural. Many people use that as an opportunity to dump in our city, and that's not something any city wants. And so I think that's something we need to um, zealously protect. So that's one thing. The other is we would still like to get our pretrial services enacted. I'm continuing to work with our partners, our community partners, to get that done. We just had a meeting a few weeks ago. We're going to have a meeting next week, because that's something I did want to accomplish in my first term that has not happened. We've got our behavioral health docket up and running. That is now being combined with our we don't call it drug court. Not the right terminology, but basically our drug court. And those will be combining sources soon. So it's the behavioral health docket is suspended in name, meaning we can still handle some of the cases. We just have to be very creative about how we handle them. And so these are things that we just launched either recently in 2025 or just under my term, that I would like to see expanded and like to see grow for the city of Suffolk. So because these things are very much in their infancy, especially as compared to some of our neighboring cities, these are some of the things I'd like to push more of. And again, to establish pretrial, because we are the only locality in Hampton Roads that does not have pretrial, and one of, I think, only 3 across the state. So I'm not asking for anything crazy. It's something that everyone else has and we don't. And I think it would be a benefit for us to have here in the city of Suffolk.
So, what are pre-trial services?
So the way it works now in not just Suffolk, the 5th judicial district. So Suffolk is in a judicial district, meaning it encompasses the city of Suffolk, the city of Franklin, Southampton County, and Isle of Wight County. That's our little bubble for court sake. So we all share judges. Um, for pretrial services, it allows a judge to have far more information about a defendant when a defendant comes before them, at initial hearings, right? So at their arraignments, at after immediately after arrest. And what it does is, if you have a pretrial officer, you have a pretrial department, they are able to look into a defendant's background to see if they're working, if they're in school, if they have stable housing, if they're using drugs, if they're in counseling, all of these things, to determine if they should be released while their case is pending, or if they should remain in custody. Right now, we have no system. So if a judge releases a defendant right now while their case is pending, the judge is basically saying, "Hey, defendant, I want you to promise, raise your hand and promise that you will do X, Y, and Z while this case is pending." There is zero oversight. zero oversight, and there is zero monitoring. And so you have one of two things: either some people are getting out that sometimes, in our opinion, should not be out, or people that are staying in jail that, if we had this in place, could get out because they would be monitored. So the ultimate goal, in my opinion, would one, to make judges have to allow judges to have more information to make better decisions in who stays incarcerated and who gets released pre-trial. And it also, once we get to that point, it could save us money as taxpayers, because if there are some people who could be out pre-trial but just needed a little bit of monitoring, we're currently housing them in the jail. That's far more expensive than anything else we could do. So again, I'm looking out for the bottom line for the city of Suffolk. And in my opinion, the way we've seen it play out in other cities is this could be a money saver for us.
Okay. Now, what's the behavioral docket?
So behavioral health docket is for those individuals whose criminal behavior, or at least for this particular crime that they come to the court before, is related somehow to their mental health. Some people have, we've seen some defendants who are sort of a revolving door of like nuisance crimes. And then we have some individuals who, for whatever reason, have suffered some type of mental break, and their crime is related to that. So this offers us an alternative to either incarceration or perhaps convicting them as is, connecting them to the services that they need, to ensure that they get the help that they need, and it is long term. A lot of things are just short term. A lot of things are just to stabilize an individual. Like many of our psychiatric holds are for up to 72 hours, and maybe a little bit longer if the person requires stabilization. But after that, it's done. And then they go back into the same habits. This is a long-term program designed to be about a year long, to stabilize them so that we do not see them again in the criminal justice system.
Okay. All right. So now, victims of violent crimes feel like they aren't included or considered in the seeking justice process. How can you change that?
So we in our office always consult with our victims, and we try to talk to them about what the case is about, right? Like, many people, fortunately, have not had contact with the criminal justice system, right? That's a good thing. And so then when they come in, if they've been a victim of crime, if they've been a victim of violent crime, or any crime, quite frankly, you want to first start by educating them about the process, because it's not fair to expect anyone who's otherwise a law-abiding citizen to understand how this process works, right? And so step one is to explain what's going on. Step two is, and I always did this as a line prosecutor, and I tell my people to do it as well, ask them, what is it you're looking for from the outcome of this case? Because quite frankly, some people have unrealistic expectations. I'll just say that, for example, and I'll give you a prime example. You can have someone who's had something stolen from them, and rightly so, they feel violated. Rightly so, their item has been taken away from them, and they might want the defendant to go away for 500 years. Well, that's not going to happen, but in their heart, and you can appreciate how they feel in their heart, they are a victim and they've been violated, and you have to sympathize with that or empathize with that. But at the end of the day, you also know what's fair and just. And I have, we've had, unfortunately, some murderers who haven't gotten, 500 years. How could you expect someone who just stole something to get the same time? So some of it is about tempering expectations as well. But for us, always, we have an Office of Victim Witness Services within the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, who works with victims and witnesses through the course of a criminal case. And they are more of the touchy-feely people, because a lot of the prosecutors are not very touchy-feely. I myself am not one of them. And so we have those individuals who come in and bring their side of it to it, because they're all fantastic, wonderfully trained people to deal with human services in a way that lawyers really aren't. And so, between the attorney talking to the individual and victim witness coming in, I hope we're doing a great job in hearing our victims, understanding what they need, what they want, and trying to get the best resolution possible.
Okay. So, victims of domestic violence do not feel heard. When they try to press charges or get a restraining order, their abuser only gets a slap on the wrist. And so, what are your thoughts on taking a firmer stance on this?
So we do take a firm stance in my office. We have a no drop policy, meaning when we get a case of domestic violence, we don't drop it. What we find is often the case. What we've done in our office is we reach out to victims immediately. So if something has happened over the weekend, we're reaching out on Monday morning. If something happened Tuesday night, we're reaching out Wednesday morning. We're trying to get in contact with them immediately to understand the dynamics, to try to figure out what's going on. Is this a first offense? Is this a repeat offense? Um, and understanding too the complexities of domestic violence cases, because and I explain to victims all the time because I was actually the domestic violence prosecutor when I started in Suffolk. So I have firsthand experience with these cases. We try to explain to them that um, domestic violence is one of those unique crimes in that the parties knew each other before, they will know each other afterwards, and quite often they have a child in common. So there will always be this link between these two parties. And so, how do we work that? How do we work it so that you can continue on with your life and not be in fear, or that we protect you in the way that we can? I will say, quite frankly, oftentimes it's one of those cases where we have victims who are afraid, unfortunately, and we try to do everything we can to help that victim, or victims just aren't ready to be a part of the process, meaning they don't want to testify against their significant other. They downplay maybe what happened. So instead of saying, he punched me in the face 5 times, they may say he just sort of pushed me and I fell, that kind of thing. So I would say for me, especially as a former domestic violence prosecutor, these cases were the most important. And the reason they were the most important to me is because 90 to 95% of the time, children were involved. And what we know is, statistically speaking, if you're a girl and you watched your mother get abused, you're more likely to be abused. If you're a boy and you observe your father beating your mother, you're more likely to be an abuser. So, in my opinion, we are saving essentially future generations of either victims or defendants. And to me, that was really important. So, a lot of times when I prosecuted these cases, I sometimes wasn't looking out for the victim. I'm going to say herself, because it's usually a female. I was sometimes looking out for the kids who are watching this at home.
Mm, okay. So there has been an uptick of seniors being targeted for scams lately, whether they think they are saving their grandchild from jail somewhere to someone claiming to be able to fix something in their houses, only for
Right.
the person to take their money and
Right.
not fix anything. How
Mhm.
would you help keep them educated and safer?
I saw this question on your list and I thought it was a fantastic question. And the reason I thought that is because since I took office, beginning in 2022, my first year, I started talking to my seniors. So, one, my office proactively goes out to seniors and senior events and senior functions and senior groups to talk to seniors about this specific topic. Um, Secondly, every year that I've been in office, I've held a lunch and learn, usually in November, to address this specific issue, identity theft and fraud. I talk about it all the time. After domestic violence, I went to general crimes team, um, and I prosecuted some of everything. But by far and large, I like white collar crimes. I can't tell you why. It must be like a follow the money kind of thing. I like white collar crime. So this is sort of my home. I like these cases. And so I like to keep people informed, and especially our seniors, because people are preying on them. And that is not cool. So I, in my office, proactively go out and talk to our seniors about prevention, about education, about what to do and what not to do. And in fact, we have a senior citizens back to school event next Saturday. I think we still have some spots open. And one of the classes that will be taught, which I am teaching, is again identity theft and fraud. And this whole program is specifically designed for our seniors.
Well, that's great.
Thank you.
All right. So, what are the top three things you hope to accomplish this time in office?
Okay. So first and foremost, as I said before, we want pretrial services. I really, really would like to get that established. And again, it's something we're working on. Number two, I would like to connect with our seniors a little bit more, um, and perhaps develop more programming to be in line with them and streaming with them. I find that our seniors just want to be engaged. They want someone to know that they're there and they want to contribute. And so I think it's a mutually beneficial situation. And so I would like to bring more seniors in to our office to see how we can collaborate and work together. And lastly, something else we've been working on that I would like to get launched is a mentorship program for some of our kids. What we've looked at in our office is not only like there's so many programs out there for kids who are already in trouble, right? Like if you're already at risk and you're already in trouble, there's all this money for you. But there are kids who are like right on the fringe, like they're not in trouble and they're not troubled kids, but maybe they live in a neighborhood that's not that great. Maybe they live with a family that's not that great, and they're just perhaps one step away from being one of those at-risk kids. And so we would like to focus on them more because I think sometimes they get lost. Because it's like those kids in a classroom, the ones who are super duper smart, they're going to be fine, right? And the ones who have behavioral needs, they're going to get their attention. And then so what happens to those kids in the middle? So I would like to focus a little bit more on those kids in the middle. And so I would like to have some type of program for youth. So we're working on that and on funding for that.
Okay. So those are all the questions that I have. Is there anything else you would like to tell the people?
Again, I did shamelessly mention our senior event on the 27th. But if you are interested, please let me know. Shoot me an email, npleas@SuffolkVA. That's all together, SuffolkVA.us, and I'll shoot you the link so that you can register. I just want people to know that, I've not squandered my 4 years in office. I've tried to make it very meaningful. I've tried to make significant changes that I think only better our community. I would like another opportunity to do that in the next 4 years because I like Suffolk. I like my community. I like what I do for a living. I've liked it for 20 years now, just about. And I would like to continue to do that. People are going to be who they're going to be and they're going to do what they're going to do. So it looks like I probably have, some job security for a while, but we can be very effective in how we do this. And I'm all about prevention and education. And if I'm out of the job because people started to behave themselves, I'm okay with that. And so until we get to that point, I would like to help as many people as I can avoid coming to 150 North Main Street here in the city of Suffolk. That's the courthouse.
Awesome. Well, I would like to thank you so much for coming and talking to us about your platform and everything. And I wish you the best of luck. Oh, and also, if people didn't know, we are endorsing the Honorable Miss Pleas. So,
thank you. Yes.
And I hope everybody have a great day.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Even though, we feel it. I think you got this.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.